Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram
Additional devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Representative Mataji, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraya Nastapraya Vrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtiki. So today we're continuing Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, verses 13 to 25. Text 13. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. Text 14. Unless the gross materialist develops a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and material worlds, he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties. Text 15. O King, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and regulating the life air, should control the senses by the mind. Text 16. Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind, his unalloyed intelligence, into the living entity, and then merge the living entity into the super self. And by doing this, the fully satisfied living entity becomes situated in the supreme stage of satisfaction, so that he ceases from all other activities. Book 17. In that transcendental state of Labdhishpashanti, there is no supremacy of devastating time, which controls even the celestial demigods, who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what to speak of the demigods themselves? Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor the material causal ocean, nor the material nature. Text 18. The transcendentalists desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that the supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities, but worships the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. Text 19. By the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization, and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One should give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated, and the heel of one's foot, and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. Text 20. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. Text 24. Thereafter, the Bhakti Yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows, then blocking the 7 outlets of the life air. He should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he is completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up his material connections, having gone to the Supreme. Text 22. However, O king, if a yogi maintains the desire for improved material enjoyments, like transference to the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, or the achievement of the Eightfold Perfections, travel in outer space with the Vihasas, or a situation in one of the million of planets, then he has to take away with him the materially molded mind and senses. Text 23. The transcendentalists are concerned with the spiritual body. As such, by the strength of their devotional service, austerities, mystic power, and transcendental knowledge, their movements are unrestricted within and beyond the material worlds. The fruitive workers or the gross materialists can never move in such an unrestricted manner. Text 24. O king, when such a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the illuminating Susma to reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka, he first goes to Vaishinara, the planet of the deity of fire, wherein he becomes completely cleansed of all contaminations. And thereafter, he still goes higher to the circle of Shishumara to relate to Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Text 25. This Shishumara is the pivot for turning of the complete universe, and it is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodaya Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond this circle of Shishumara and attains the planet Maharloka, where purified saints like Bhrigu enjoy a duration of 4,300,000,000 solar years. This planet is worshipable even for the saints who are transcendentally situated. I'll stop here, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mother. Yeah, Krishna will Prabhu, whenever you're ready, you can start, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिति नाम्नि। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्तदेशतारिणि। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Thank you, Rukmini Priya Mataji, for reading the verses, translations. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, titled The Lord in the Heart, from the slokas 13 to 25. So in this chapter, so far we see that Sukadeva Goswami mentioning that one should lead a simple life and practice Krishna consciousness or devotional service, so that the valuable human life can be perfect or make successful. So this is called simple living and high thinking. But of course, unfortunately, as the Kali Yuga is progressing, so generally the most of the people are inclined towards simply living and no thinking. So that's why he's stressing one, try not to run after the material things and waste their time or energy or wealth, because it's a shrama eva hi kevalam. So it's going to be, there's no output or any benefit out of it. So that's why he stresses to practice Krishna consciousness so that one can escape this condition life, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, which is the suffering. So that's why Sukadeva Goswami is stressing in this beginning of this chapter that an intelligent person should take up this Krishna consciousness and perfect their life, not to lose this great opportunity. So then he started narrating how one should meditate. A yogi should meditate on the Supreme Lord's form. So who is in everyone hearts as a super soul. So meditating on the super soul. So today also it's continuing the meditation process, how a yogi should meditate on the super soul. So in the sloka 13, so we see that how a yogi should begin his meditation. So it is mentioned here, they should start meditating from the lotus feet of the Lord and then slowly progress to his smiling face. So, and also the mind become fixed on the different parts of the limbs, and the more they do, the intelligence becomes purified. So this is the process that is recommended to the yogi. So the similar thing we can also apply, like when we go to temple. So when we taking darshan of the Supreme Lord, Shishi Radha Madhav in the temple, then we can start taking darshan of the Supreme Lord, starting from the lotus feet, then go higher, calves and then thighs, and in this way progress to the smiling face, not to jump directly to the smiling face like that. So same thing applies to the even reading or understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. Like we start from the canto 1, so then slowly go higher and higher to the 10th canto or 11th canto, 12th canto. So Prabhupada recommends that not to jump directly to the 10th canto rasa dance pastime, because it is possible that one can misunderstand Krishna or the dealings of Krishna with gopis or gopis dealings with Krishna like that. So we should take step by step like that. And the more we do this transcendental activities, then the more we become purified. Our intelligence become purified, and we can see the things as it is. And Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning that unless a person, the materialistic person, develops a sense of loving service to the Supreme Lord, then it is recommended for them is to meditate on the universal form. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that so in this material world there are different types of people, am I right? Like some of them are they may have a lot of sinful reactions in their bucket. So they might be going through the constant suffering or more suffering, and some of them may have the some good reactions. So they may have some breathing like that. But someone who has enough pious credit, so they would inquire like about the absolute truth. Who am I? Where did I came from? Who is the Supreme Lord, like that? So those people, but if they don't have enough pious credit or enough devotional service, and then they cannot take up the loving service unto the Supreme Lord. So for them, it is recommended to meditate on the universal form. So which was narrated by Sukadeva Goswami in the previous chapter. And Prabhupada mentions that it is for the less intelligence. So that meditation on the universal form, because that meditation can only give an understanding. Of course, that is also at least better, but it will give an understanding how the different planets are arranged in this universe, how the demigods were created. So these are all will be understood by that yogi. And in the text 15, Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning that when the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, so he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but he should be comfortably sit and without being disturbed. So he should regulate his life here and then control the senses and senses by the mind. So in the Ashtanga Yoga process, we hear from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna mentions that when a yogi through the Ashtanga Yoga process and he's trying to leave the body, you should look for an auspicious time, or like, suppose example, like if he lives in Dakshinayana, he may not be able to reach the destination that he is looking for, like that. Of course, this is not applicable for a devotee, because devotee always remembers Krishna. So by Krishna's mercy, so whatever the time he leaves the body, he will go back home, back to Godhead. He will reach that. But the yogi who is desires to leave this planet, so he should not be perplexed by the proper time or place. So he should control the senses by the mind. So this is the key point. Like, he should control the senses mind. Of course, the controlling the senses and mind is easy through the devotional service, engaging in Krishna consciousness. So in other process, it is a little challenging. So then in the 16th sloka, Sukadeva Goswami mentioning that the yogi should merge his mind and also he should be fully satisfied. Then he can cease from all other activities, all the material activities. And Prabhupada mentions that this mind, the functions of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. So, but when the mind is engaged or observed in the materialistic activities, then his willing or feeling or thinking all are related to the advancement of material knowledge. So, which is not going to help him out to come out from this suffering cycle, like Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So that's why Prabhupada stresses that. So one should engage his mind in the spiritual process, so that they can be able to achieve the complete bliss and eternal life. So that's how the mind should be trained, so that their intelligence can be purified. And in the 17th sloka, Sukadeva Goswami mentions that so when he reaches the transcendental state, there is no supremacy of a devastating time. So this devastating time controls even the demigods, celestial demigods, who are empowered. And also there is no material mode of goodness or passion or ignorance or the false ego. So these are all not exist in the transcendental state. So these are all in the material world only. Like, so the time or the three modes, the material three modes, like that. So of course, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita is the time, the powerful time. So Kalosmi, like he says that I am that time. And what does the time does? Like it says that Lokakshaya Kruta Pravruddho. So it will destroy everything in this material world. Like we hear, am I right? In due course of time, the people, the time will bring the people together and it will separate them also. And Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. So the time is exhibited, the influence of the time is exhibited by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, diseases. Like as the time progresses, so the age progresses and one can experience in this material the old ages, and they will go through the diseases like that. So it's not just for the people in this earth planet, but it is for everyone in this material world, even for the celestial demigods. So then what to speak of others? So, and Prabhupada mentions that this insurmountable time even brings the Lord Brahma's death also. So then what to speak of other demigods like Indra, Chandra, Surya, Vayu, like, so all these demigods. So similarly, in the spiritual world, there is no three modes, the material three modes, like Sattva Gunam, Rajo Gunam, Tamo Gunam, like that. So the people in the spiritual world, they are situated in pure mode of goodness, Vishuddha Sattva. So that's why Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, you be connected to the activities that are higher than these three modes. Nistraygunya Bhavarjuna, he says that we have to rise above the three modes. So above the three modes activities are like the spiritual activities, like chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and participating in kirtans or reading, listening, or Krishna Katha, like that, or honoring the Krishna Prasadam. Like. So then we can slowly rise our from the material modes. And then in text 18, Sukadeva Goswami mentioning that the transcendentalist, the yogi, so desires to avoid everything godless. So any activities that are connected to materialistic should be avoided. So in that way, the yogi rises to the transcendental status. And also Sukadeva Goswami said that the pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord, so it doesn't create perplexity, but he worships the lotus feet of the Lord every moment, taking them into this heart. So this is the symptoms of a pure devotee. So he doesn't want anything that is not connected to Krishna or makes him to forget Krishna. So he wants everything which is connected to Krishna. So he will do anything for the Krishna service. Like if he has to take up a higher position, management positions and dealing with many other devotees or people, he will take it up as a service to the Krishna. But if he has to renounce that position, he will do it as a service to the devotees and Krishna. So for him, the most important is the service to Krishna and to the devotees. So always remembering Krishna. Sada Kirtaniya Hari, like that. And Krishna also mentions in Bhagavad Gita, the pure devotees, they're always Satata Yuktanam Bhajitam. So they're always engaged in rendering devotional service. So every moment. So that's the instruction, like a sadhaka should strive for that. And then in text 19, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that by the strength of scientific knowledge, so one should well be situated in an absolute relation and also extinguish all material desires. So this is another key point. And then he should give up the material body by blocking the hair hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot, and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. So those 6 primary places are mentioned in the next slokas. So this is the symptom of advanced yogi. So he will extinguish all material desires because he is experiencing the higher taste. So he's relishing. So he's getting that happiness from the process of this yoga meditation. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Param Dristvani Vartate, because he is experiencing higher taste, so he will extinguish all material desires automatically. So then, of course, the yogi who is meditating, so he will block the air hole with the heel of one's foot, and he will lift the life air from one place to another place in the 6 primary places. Prabhupada mentions, of course, this yoga process is a kind of a mechanical process. So it's a physical endeavor for spiritual perfection. And Prabhupada mentions that this is possible in the previous yugas, olden days, because of their abilities or the way of they are leading the life, their character, like that. Krute Dhyayato Vishnu, like that. They could be able to do that. But in the modern days, with the influence of the Kali Yuga, which is so disturbing, so practically everyone is untrained. So they are not trained on this art of bodily exercise. So like we can't sit even an hour keeping our body straight to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra continuously. So then what to speak of sitting in one posture for several days or months or years, like that. So it's very difficult. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, this process is klesho adhikataraha. So this is very troublesome. So that's why Krishna very mercifully gave a simple process for us to train our mind or control our senses in this Kali Yuga. So which is Kalau Tad Hari Kirtanas. Just chant the holy name of the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada mentions that the results are more effective than those derived from this process of the yoga or meditation or Ashtanga yoga, like that. So then in the 20th sloka, Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning that so the yogi, the meditative devotee, slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart then to the chest, and then to the root of the palate. Then he should search out the proper places with intelligence. So this is another key point here is to search with intelligence and in a meditative mood. So in a meditative mode. So if yogi's intelligence is not pure, then Maya will trick. Maya will trick with him so many, showing so many material enjoyments. Then the yogi cannot be successful. So their intelligence should be purified. Yeah. And then in the sloka 21, Sukadeva Goswami mentioning that. So thereafter, the bhakti yogi should push the life air. So between the eyebrows and then blocking the 7 outlets of the life air. Then he should maintain his aim for going back home, back to God. So if he is completely free from all material enjoyments, then the life air will reach to the cerebral hole, and he will give up all his material consumptions, and then having gone to the Supreme. And Prabhupada mentions what are those 7 outlets of the life air in the purport, like 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Generally, the soul passes through the mouth at the time of ordinary man's death. But the yogi generally releases the life air by puncturing the cerebral hole on the head. So that's a yoga process. And also here Sukadeva Goswami is stressing that the aim should be going back home, back to God, not to reach any higher planets in this material world. Because any place in this universe, one is subjected to go through Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, like birth, death, old age, diseases. So it's again suffering on. So whether one is on this Earth planet or in the higher planets of this universe, so the suffering will exist. So that's why the aim should be going back home, back to God, so that one would reach, accomplish the complete blissfulness and the eternity, the permanent life. And for that, he should be completely free from all desires of material enjoyments. So that's the another instruction that one should look for it. So like a longer duration of life, or more wealth, or good name, or fame, or beautiful spouse. So these kind of any material desires should be purified. They should not be there. And then in the text 22, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that if at all the yogi, he maintains any desire for improved material enjoyments, like going to the Brahma Loka or any other Loka, or achievement of 8-fold perfections like Asta Siddhi, to any other planets, then the yogi should continue to have the materially molded mind and senses. So, so this is another thing. Like Prabhupada mentions that in the higher planets, like when they go to Brahma Loka or Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka, like we have 14 planet systems. So there are we are in the Earth planet, 7th, and there are 6 more planets on the on top of our Earth planet. So when they go higher planets, then there is a improved material enjoyments. Prabhupada mentions that compared to this Earth planet, the facilities or comforts or enjoyments that are available in higher planets like Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka. So it's much higher, like thousands and thousands of times greater than what we have it in this Earth planet. So, but if yogi desires to go there, then he has to take with him like the material molded mind and senses. And if he is looking for the achievement of 8-fold perfection, like Asta Siddhi, then he will be living in this material world only. So which continues the suffering. Prabhupada mentions what are those 8 perfections, like Anima Siddhi, Lagima Siddhi, Prapti Siddhi, like that. Like, one can become smaller than small, or lighter than lighter, like, softer than softer. Or if they want something from the other planet, they can stay here and get it, everything. So like that, If the yogi is attracted by those powers or any material enjoyments, then he cannot reach the spiritual world, and he will continue in this material world. So, which is the suffering place, Dukkhalayam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So it's a miserable world. And then text 23, Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning that, but the transcendentalists are concerned only with the spiritual body. So by the strength of their devotional service and transcendental knowledge, their movements are unrestricted, and they can travel beyond this material world. But in case of fruity workers or gross materialists, they cannot move in the unrestricted manner. So they are restricted. Even their moves also restricted. So that's a power of the spiritual personalities. Like, and Prabhupada says that in the purport, like if anyone in this material world, in this earth planet at least, a scientist, like if he wants to go to a different country or a different place, he has to use a machine to travel from one country to other country, or one place to other place, or even from one planet to other planet. Of course, they are trying, but so they are still trying out to go to a different planet. But a yogi, if he wants to travel from one planet to another planet, who is successful or who went to the higher planet systems like Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, they don't need any mission. So they can just travel like that. But of course, the people who are in this material world, even in the higher planets, they cannot move or travel to the spiritual world. They are restricted. But a devotee, a transcendentalist person who has the spiritual body, so they can travel beyond this material world. So beyond this material world, like they can go to the spiritual world, and they can come from spiritual to the material world also to accomplish or to serve Krishna in any mission, like how Srila Prabhupada coming from the Vaikuntha planet, spiritual world, and spreading the Krishna consciousness as a service to Krishna, like that. So they can do it. Like Narada Mahamuni. So we see that Narada Muni, he can go to the spiritual world, or he can travel in any planet in this material world. So that's the ability. So that's a complete freedom. And then the text 24, Sukadeva Goswami says that the yogi, so he passes over the Milky Way, illuminating Sushmana to reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka. While he is going there, like first he goes to Vaishnavanara, so that's the planet of the deity of fire. Then he will be completely cleansed, all contamination. Then slowly he'll go higher, the circle of Sisumara. So this is the place where the Supreme Person of Godhead residence is there in this universe. So this is the process. So then he reaches to the topmost planet, Brahmaloka. So then in the text 25, Sukadeva Goswami mentions that the yogi, so then he goes beyond the circle of Sisumara, and he will attain, if he attains the Marloka, where he can enjoy the duration of the life, 4,300,000,000 years, solar years. So they live a longer duration of life. So, and of course, we understand from the scriptures that the life duration between each planet is different. Not only that, even from each body is also different. Like we see in this Earth planet itself, so a human being may live like an average of 80 years like that. But if we see other living entities who are in a different body, like a bacteria or ant, they may live a couple of minutes or a couple of days only. So similarly, the residents of the higher planets, they live longer duration. Like here we see that in Marloka, so they enjoy a duration of 4,300,000,000 years. Of course, it looks like a longer duration when it is compared to the life duration of a human being on this earthly planet. But when this is compared to the duration of the Lord Brahma, it's only 1 day. So 1,000 yugas, right? Brahma's 1 day is mentioned as Sahasra Yuga Paryantam, like 1,000 Mahayugas. So 1,000 Mahayugas are, well, it comes 4,300,000,000 years. So still they have to leave the body. So they are not permanent. So that's why it was mentioned by Sukadeva Goswami in the previous sloka, right? The goal should be to go back home, back to God. So to completely achieve the complete blissfulness and the complete permanent life like that. So no changing of the body. So we see, I think it is continuing in the next slokas also. So I'll pause it here. Thank you all for joining. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu, for making it practical and how we can apply these principles for as a Bhakti Yogi practitioners. Thank you, Sri Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.